So we are here on site with a building behind me, which you can see, called Montpellier House. This is one of our current projects. Now, interestingly enough, the building next door to this one, the Eagle Tower, I used to work when I was a management consultant in that building and have actually abseiled down the side for charity. So very, very interesting that I'm now a little bit further on in my journey converting this building into residential accommodation. So we're going to go and take a tour around this building where you are going to learn how you can do this type of project for yourself. So here we are inside the building, or rather one part of it. We'll take a look around the other parts a little bit later on. But let's go have a look inside. Let's see what this disused office block looks like. And let's have a conversation about some of the things we need to think about when we're on about converting this type of building into residential accommodation. Let's go. So here we are in what would have been the open plan office element of this building. And straight away you can see this is a wide open space. There's not much in here in terms of structure other than the big column in the middle. And that's the beauty of these types of buildings, because they were designed to have lots of people in them, you know, open plan office working. There's not much in the middle that stops us converting them into residential. And if we take a look at this wall here, all we see is this is just a basic stud wall that can just be taken out, and then we've got this entire space to convert, and this bit will be converted into 2 apartments. And what we have here is we've got the best example of a door that's not really required. Check this out. I can only imagine that at some point this must have been a reception area and there was probably some more walls or something here, but there we are, the door that goes nowhere really. We've got another door that goes nowhere as well, actually, this property, so come and follow me. Obviously, fire exits and things like that are very, very key in office blocks. So as you can see behind me, we have our fire exit sign, and yet we have no fire exit. I can only imagine what's happened with this one is, originally there was a fire exit and a door here. But on this particular building, on the roof, some penthouses have already been created, and I think on the other side of this wall is their entrance. So as part of this, it was blocked off. Now, what we're going to be doing with the conversion is we are going to be putting a door here. So these units will have their own separate entrances. One of the other benefits of doing commercial to residential conversions is by utilizing what's known as capital allowances. Now, these are a tax offset, let's put it that way, where everything that's in this building in terms of plant and machinery, we can offset those costs against our profits. So for example, we've got air conditioning units, we've got lighting units, we've got ventilation, we've got things in this building that make it an office block. We can add up all of the costs of those, and then we can use that figure to offset some of our profits. So a very, very tax efficient way of doing property investment. So just talking about those capital allowances, that's just an example of how an educated property investor, a professional property investor, can make these types of deals really, really profitable. The one that springs to mind is our project, which is almost finished, and I think we'll see that in another video as well, so make sure you do like, subscribe and follow this channel. And on that particular deal, we received £435,000 of capital allowances. So that's £435,000 of income that we don't have to pay any tax on. Right, let's continue the tour. Let's go and have a look at the other sections of the building. Right, so this is the entranceway. We're going to now head up to the floors which are part of the purchase, because this isn't actually part of what we're going to be buying. Which floor are you on, Mike? Top. Get some steps in today then. I knew that. So here we are in a section of this office block. Now, like most offices across the UK, the demand for office space has significantly dropped. This, for example, was refurbished in 2020, 2021, and then nobody wanted to rent it. So this place has got brand spanking new kitchen units in it. So what we'll do as part of this is we will rip them out. Come on, Phil. We'll put it on Facebook Marketplace or something like that. And effectively people can come and collect this, they take it out themselves, a couple of £100, and what that'll do is that'll go into the contractors and the lads and the lasses drinks fund for Christmas. Now, if you remember when we were in the other part of the building, you saw the glass partition in offices. We've got a few of those around here as well, which we'll sell off, and we have done that previously as well. But you'd be surprised how much of these types of buildings you can reuse and sell things. So for example, on a previous site, the ceiling tiles, the floor tiles, the glass partitions, the radiators, new electric radiators, all those things were sold online so they could be reused rather than thrown away. Now, we get asked this quite a lot, but buy-to-let landlords looking to do kitchen refurbs, we talk about all the discounts and things you can get with trade accounts and things like that, but actually a really good way of sourcing stuff is like work with developers, work with people like myself who are taking stuff like this out, a perfectly good brand spanking new kitchen that's never ever been used. You just come and take it away, a couple of £100 and you can have it. So now we'll go through into the main office part of this particular block and you'll see how good the condition of this office is. Says they can't go through the door. Big open plan office space. Now we're here today at the same time as our development teams, and what they are doing is they're walking around with the architects, with our electrical contractor. They're working out all of the service risers and where the electric points are going to go, where the feeds are going to go, etc., to allow us to get a really tight costing for our development finance. So as we walk around, you can see they're going to walk around doing their thing. When we are going to be converting this into residential, all we'll be doing effectively is building boxes inside a box. That's what the contractors call it, boxes inside a box. So we're going to be putting in partition walling, we're going to be putting in all the services to make these lovely residential apartments.
How many apartments are you going to get?
I knew you were going to ask that question. How many apartments we get on this floor? So on this floor, we'll get 9 residential apartments, a mixture of 1 and 2 beds. Now, the way we carve up the space is effectively, some of this block here is going to stay, because that's where the elevators are, and the service risers for all the water, the power, etc. The waste will go to the service risers. And we effectively have a corridor that runs down the middle, just to the side of these pillars, and then goes to that far corner in a door, and then we'll have 4 on one side, 5 on the other. So when we are doing the initial deal analysis on something like this, we work on a square foot or square meter basis. So we know how many square meters the building is. Generally that's written on the agent's particulars. So we take the amount of square meterage and we'll divide it by, say, 50 square meters, something like that, which will give us the average space for a 1-bedroom apartment and circulation space, i.e. corridors, etc., to get to it. So let's just say there is 500 square meters on every single floor. We'll divide that by 50, which means we can get 10 1-bedroom apartments on every single floor. So in this one, it's slightly different, which is why I've got 9 apartments, but that's how we would do it. We just do it on a square foot or square meter basis. Whenever you're looking at any type of property strategy, but more so when you're doing developments, you've got to know who your end user is going to be. Now, this is a quite swanky, upcoming, quite professional area of Cheltenham. It's called Montpellier. And the tenant types that we're looking for these types of properties would be the young professionals, white collar workers, that type of crowd. Generally, we're looking to rent rather than to buy. So we're going to be creating these units for that market. We're going to be holding them so that they can rent the properties. So one of the good things about these types of commercial building, generally most of them will have what we call these service risers, which is what the team are looking at today. So this goes all the way from the basement all the way to the roof. And we'll reuse all these spaces for all of our electrical components. So you can see in here, this is some of the older electrical equipment already in here. We'll probably rip a lot of this out, but we'll reuse some of the infrastructure, i.e. the space between the basement and top, to get all our services into these apartments. The other thing about these types of buildings is you have what's known as a computer floor. So the floor we're standing on is a false floor. There's a gap below it. And again, it's designed so that they could run all the cables for computing and networking and power and all the rest of it. That's a really useful space for us to do the same thing when we're converting these properties into residential apartments. We also have a false ceiling. So actually these apartments are going to have some really, really high ceilings in them as well, which obviously brings in more volume. So when you walk into these spaces, they're going to feel bigger because they've got higher ceilings. Whether you're pricing up to do a single refurbishment on a buy-to-let property, or you're pricing up to do something like this with 30 flats, the process is exactly the same. The difference is in the mindset, and that's all it is. So a lot of people I work with, one of their biggest challenges with this strategy is just themselves. How do you overcome that? The way you do that is you do what successful people do. You get the right education, you surround yourself with people who will pull you forward, and you take the right type of actions. Now here we have an example of what can happen with these types of buildings over time. This has been empty since about 2020, so we're looking at 2 or 3 years now. Empty buildings have a tendency for things to go wrong and no one notices them for a while. Leaks, for example. That's why insurance on empty buildings is higher than it is on occupied buildings. Here we've had what looks like a leak in the air conditioning system, which has then brought down some of the ceiling tiles. Commercial conversion is about simplicity and certainty. So what we will do in this space is we will come in and we'll rip absolutely everything out of it, and then we'll put new stuff back in. It's very, very simple that way. So things like this doesn't matter because it's all going to get ripped out anyway. If you want to know more about my journey, how I went from zero to a multi-million-pound property portfolio, check out this video here where we went around some of the portfolio and we talked about how it all came together. Let's go down and have a look at one of the floors below. So this floor, believe it or not, is actually identical to the floor above. It's just divided into two office spaces. So there's this half and the half next door. So when we come in here, we will rip out all this wall in, and then it will look exactly the same as the floor above. So there'll be 9 apartments on this floor as well. So this is the other thing about these types of properties. You find all sorts of things that have been left in them. In this case, we've got a lovely table and 4 chairs. Now, again, we might put this onto like Facebook Marketplace, but I've got a suspicion that what will happen is this will become furniture for the site office, and we'll find the site agent and the QS having these lovely leather reclining chairs while they do their day-to-day work. So now we're going on to the other side of that partition we've just seen. So as we can see, this is all divided into office space. Now all this is just, partitioning. It'll easily come out, get ripped out. But again, we've got some things which have been left. We've got all the servers, network switches, we can sell all those. We've got tables and chairs, we'll get rid of all those. But you can see there's taps, there's bolts, coffee machines, wiring, absolutely loads and loads of things. Probably some of it will sell, some of it we may reuse, but it's just a treasure trove. And it's amazing what you find in these old commercial buildings. Originally, the owners used the airspace rights above to build some penthouse apartments, and they used these service offices as their site office. So we've actually got a lot of their designs, we've got a lot of their paperwork, we've got a lot of their plans, the structural drawings, a lot of information about the building we've actually inherited with the building. We'll just have a quick look at the other floors just to give you the context of everything, and then we're going to have a look in the basement. So again, as you can see, this is very similar to the one above. It's actually not a bad sofa, this. And on the other side, again, it's all broken up. Interesting fact about this. So there are 2 lifts in this property. One is the passenger lift, and that will be restored and brought back into life. This is the old goods lift. Removing a lift can cost a lot of money, because all this will be like a really big concrete core that's made to hold the lift in. So what we're doing with this to maximize the space but also reduce the amount of cost, we're taking the lift out but leaving the lift shaft in. And then what we'll do is we'll put correct floors and ceilings in it, and believe it or not, this then actually becomes a bathroom for one of the apartments that comes around in this side here. So, the basement, or the dumping ground as might more commonly be known. Again, a treasure trove of things, keys for locks that probably don't exist anymore, pots, pans, heaters. I don't even know what half of this stuff is. We've got chairs, we've got desks, we've got shredders, PCs, TV screens, monitors. This just looks like someone was working here on a Friday, went home for Friday afternoon, and then never came back again. They've still got the tea cup on the desk. So this will be converted into more communal space. So we might put a gym down here. We might put storage lockers for the apartments down here. It's still up for discussion at this moment in time, but we can do gyms, storage, cycle storage, those sorts of things. Now you might say, well, why haven't we got more apartments down here? The answer is, in the same way that we're carrying around our phones with lights on, there's no natural light down here. Now, in order to convert anything or even create new apartments, you have to have natural light into living spaces. Living rooms, kitchen, diners, those sorts of areas, bedrooms have to have natural light. And as you can see, we're in a basement, there's no natural light in here.
So what's a better car, your M5 Competition or this, I believe, 997 Porsche 999?
Obviously my M5 Competition, because that's only a picture. This is a part of the building I've never ever been into before, but it is the lift winch motor room. Now we've removed lifts before, and these things weigh an absolute ton. So I've no idea how we're getting this out of here, and I suspect it will just stay. And then through here we've got the car park. So we'll use this all as storage. That's it, we're locked in. So this is the car park. But again, this is an example of all of the things that are no longer needed, which we'll take out, but I've got money in them. These are all capital allowances here. So we're going to reconfigure this car parking area to get probably about 25 car park spaces between here and the areas up the top for the 30 units we're going to have. So not every unit will have a car parking space. And sometimes people say to me they can't do commercial conversions in the town centre because buildings have no car parking. If your tenant type doesn't have a car, it doesn't matter. Let's, for example, say that the young professionals who are going to be living here, they live here, they work in the town centre, which is, you know, just a 5-minute walk across the park. They probably don't own a car, probably don't need a car or even want a car, so potentially car parking is not too much of an issue for them. Families with 2 children, they probably are going to want a car, so that's not the kind of market we're talking about here. Out into the light. So if you want to get involved in your own property projects, becoming financially free from one deal, then check out the description below where I have put a free report to help you get started on your property journey. So the property we've just seen, we came across this because it was on the open market back in November 2021. Yes, November 2021. We started pulling together all the numbers and working with the agents to try and buy all of those parts of that building. It's quite a complex transaction because there actually are 5 owners to the building parts that we've seen today. So we've got 5 owners, that's 5 sets of solicitors, 5 sets of legals. It's quite a complex deal in that sense. January 2022. Was when we had the offer accepted. And throughout 2022, we've been working with the architects, the professional teams, the vendors, the financiers, etc., to put in place our permitted development so that we've got the permission to convert that property into those 30 apartments. Now, it's very important when you do these types of deals to make sure that you have all of the detailed design work done up front. Okay, we don't want to be turning up on site and trying to figure things out as we go. We've got to do a lot of this design work up front. Now, one of the most important aspects of doing any type of conversion, but particularly a conversion on this scale, is the fire safety. So we're working through at the moment with our fire consultant, with building control, with our mechanical and electrical consultant and our contractors to make sure that we've got the correct fire strategy for that type of building, and then we can get that fully costed so we can make sure that we have all of that information ready for our development finance lender. So the numbers on this deal, roughly in big handful terms, we are buying the property for £3.5 million. Okay, we're going to spend roughly £2.5 million converting it, and when we've finished, that means the building will be worth roughly 8.5 million. Okay, so there should be, after all the finance costs and our partner cost stuff, there should be about £1.5 million worth of profit in this deal. Now, when we look at buying one of these types of buildings, we generally put it straight onto development finance. That means that that development finance lender will give us 100% of our build costs and our professional fees, and then they'll give us a percentage, could be 40, could be 50, could be 60%, of our purchase price as well. Which means to do that entire deal, you know, £6 million outlay, we only need to find about £1 million. And that's where our equity investors and our partners come in. They will bring in that £1 million cash. We'll put some of our own cash into that deal, but we don't necessarily need to. And then we'll use development finance lending to fund the rest of the project. And then at the end of the project, we will refinance onto a standard sort of buy-to-let product, but on a bigger scale. And then we'll pay off all our investors and all of the development finance lenders, leaving us with a building with 30 tenants or 30 tenancies in there on a normal type of buy-to-let mortgage. So if you want to get involved in these types of projects for yourselves, get into the description below and click on the link to download the free report that I've put in there to help you with your property journey. I'm Dan Eaton, it's been great to be with you today. Make sure you do like, subscribe and click that bell notification, and I'll see you in another video soon.